I think I tried some bourbon about 45 years ago. I really don't remember what it tasted like. I do know that bourbon is a type of whiskey. And recently, I had the opportunity to visit the Jim Beam Distillery in Claremont, Kentucky, where I got to do some really serious bourbon tasting. And I'm going to share that with you because it was pretty hilarious. Hi, I'm Sandy from Sandy Over 70. Welcome to my channel. I hope that you'll subscribe if you haven't done so already and give me a thumbs up. We're at the Jim Beam Distillery and we're supposed to have lunch here, but there was a snafu on the reservation. They thought we were coming tomorrow, our busload of people. So we're scrambling. We've ordered our lunch and apparently we're going to eat it on the bus, but this is the gift shop. If you want to wear Jim Beam clothing, t-shirts, etc., you can buy it here. Also, an entire floor of bottles of Jim Beam liquor is available in beautiful displays, I might say. And you can go back and forth between the two floors on an elevator that is shaped like barrels. The Beam family has been making bourbon for 8 generations since 1795. The grounds are beautiful with many buildings. Here's a map of what it looks like. And we were there basically to have lunch at the restaurant and then do the bourbon tasting. Things didn't go exactly as planned, however. We walked around the gift shop and some people bought bourbon. I didn't because I knew I'd never drink it and it's hard to travel with glass bottles. But in any case, we went up and down in the barrel-shaped elevator, and finally we were told to go to what looked like a classroom for the bourbon tasting. There were tables with rows of seats, and we had our own bourbon tasting instructor, so to speak, and he told us everything in the world about bourbon, so much so that I can't remember most of it. But in any case, we were to taste 4 bourbon samples. There was also a cookie in the last glass so that we could kind of clear our palates between tastings. And there was also some water which we could drink or we could mix it with the bourbon. So I didn't really know what to expect and I was looking forward to tasting this famous bourbon. So here's what happened.
From that barrel, while 75% of the flavor is also coming from that barrel. So that aging process is pretty important to bourbon. It's not the most important thing, but you know, it's up there, all right? So, how do you do your tastings? In the sense that you want to start with your lowest proofing bourbon and make your way up to the highest proofing bourbon. The only way it's going to change is if you have a sweet bourbon, like Basil Hayden Dark Rye. And if you haven't had that, it's going to give you sweet molasses notes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've teased you long enough. Let's go in for a sip, all right? But just a tiny one, enough to wet the palate. Now, once you take that first sip, go ahead and take a second or even a third sip. You never want to judge a bourbon off the first sip.
They're not going to come in for it.
Thank you very much. So you never want to judge your bourbon off the first sip, always a second or third. That first initial sip, that right there is actually getting your palate, getting your taste buds woken up, saying, hey, get ready, the party is starting. From the left, we're going to be moving from left to right.
Taking a bite of the biscuit and some water.
So we're not moving up in proofing. We're actually going to be staying the same at 80 proof, but we're moving up a little bit in age. So Jim Beam White Label is aged for 4 years minimum. So we're going on to the Basil Hayden, the second glass from the left. It's artfully aged, which really means that we're aging it for 6 years minimum, but we might marry it with a 7-year or even an 8-year barrel. So we're just kind of getting for a consistency. It doesn't really matter too much about the age, but it's hitting that minimum mark of 6 years. 80 proof, it is very smooth, you guys. I think this is smoother than the Jim Beam White Label. Nothing wrong with the Jim Beam White Label, of course. I know it, like I said, #1 most sold bourbon in the world, but that's our flagship. It's who we are. That's what we just, that's us. In the simplest ways, I don't know how else to explain it. This is just how we are. It's our uprising. So of course we got to play homage to
I'm not the only
but
one
Basil
making
Hayden right
faces.
here. This is made from Booker No. Back in the 80s when he created a small batch collection. Booker made Booker's, Baker's, Basil Hayden, and Knob Creek. So 3 of which are his products right here. Basil Hayden has a lot of history to it. A lot of our models do. One of the histories is jumping from 80 proof to 100 proof. So feel free to preemptively add some drops of water to your bourbon. Now Knob Creek also has some pretty great history to it. I really like this bottle. All right. So 9 years, it's the same mash build as White Label. Fun fact. 3 out of the 4 we're trying today have the same mash bill. Basil Hayden is the only one with a different mash bill. Different yeast and a different mash bill. The rest all share the same build. But they're aged differently. They're aged for a lot longer. They get married together with different amounts of barrels. So there's a little bit of inconsistency with that. So this is aged for 9 months buys. And you're not going to break the bank, but it's also a nice display because it's coming in a nice wooden box. And it just has a lot of history to it as well. Each bottle will, because they're all different stories. Now, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. This is high proofing. We're jumping up. We're going from 100 proof to 127.8 proof. It is coming out 2.8 hotter out of the barrel than it is when we put it in. That's because this is essentially cask strength. We're not chill filtering it. We're not adding water or anything to it. It's from barrel, we filter out the char, and then we're putting it into a bottle. So maybe add some water to it. Yes, it's going to give you a Kentucky hug. I'm not sure about that at all.
I hope you enjoyed my little visit to the distillery and my bourbon tasting, and maybe, hopefully, it gave you a laugh. In any case, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.